Tell you yes, I totally agree. Is there are certain kids that are born with this natural goodness and natural morality that is great. Then you got the whole issue with the parents, okay? But you got to get involved.
Yes.
More than that.
Fundamentally.
My son knows, okay, that. And when he started, with the 13-year-old and the 7th grade and the 8th grade, he would come and he would say, something, whatever, whether it was a sexual statement or a racist statement in the house in front of me, and he knew that whatever I had in my hand, whatever I had, from a hammer to whatever it was, it would go directly to his head.
Mm-hmm.
Wait.
Okay?
But
so that, because again, boys, no matter how, if I try to rationalize, if I said, please, come on, you cannot say that, he will yes me to death and whatever. And he's a great kid, by the way.
Well, Manny, Ken from Arizona does not believe you can have dumb boys because he says, since you're very smart, which I...
No, but not, so he knew, whatever I had, if what? Boom. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
So it was the threat of it. It was the threat of it.
It was a threat because there comes a point, not a threat in that way.
I'm not going to advocate that you have a kid's head, but what I am going to suggest is that you have to have an element of your kids need to know what your expectations are of them. And that starts before you're a teenager. That starts when you are
zero tolerance policy.
Right, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We need to start teaching. We need to parent our kids as to what is respectful and what that's happening. And I see in a lot of ways that that's not happening, that people are getting divorced, they're not even being effective co-parents, they're bullying each other. And whereas bullying is not an innate behavior, it is a learned behavior. We learn it based on television, parents. Check your own house. Sometimes in someone's house, a parent bullies with power to get things done in their house, and then the kid learns, well, ooh, if I do that, I can be the bully. And cyberbullying is just the medium that this generation is using. It's no different than the girls sending 100 texts a day to their friends and not talking on the phone.
I talk to just as much parents and grandparents as people my age on the show, and my show's called Teen Talk Live, but it's really not just geared toward the teenagers because it's so much has to do with the parents, and it's honestly the way in which you have the relationship with your child and how they're going to interact with their friends. And you were talking about if I have that thing in my hand towards my son, but is your son going to do things because he's scared of you, or is he going to do it and he knows that if he gets in trouble, you guys can talk it out? Like, I know that if I do something wrong, but if I bring it to my parents and I'm going to get reprimanded, but I'm going to know the right and wrong aspects.
Well, and that's good enough for me, what you just said. I know that I'm going to get reprimanded.
There's consequences.
The problem is that I don't think,
them away.
I don't think, because I see, look, I live in a great neighborhood, okay? Huge house, these kids have nothing to worry about, none of them. And and I'm very laid back. I let you do your stuff, man. Whatever you want, man. I'm all loosey-goosey, man. I provide. But yet you see the levels of maturity and of seniority, and we're all neighbors. It's like my house in this corner, your house is in the next corner, and the differences are humongous. What I see the difference in my son, well, let's say his buddies, is that he knows that if he does something that is sort of in that do not 10 commandment list, don't do this. Like the other stuff I don't, hey, you break a window.
You're not going to sweat the small stuff, but it's the big stuff.
You dump 2 gallons of, Coca-Cola in my new couch. I don't care. You destroy my $3,000 computer because you guys are jamming and trying to buy a lot of music on the internet. I don't care. Buy another one. Don't worry. I'll find the money. It's the big ticket items. It's that don't get that picture of that girl and I don't want to see it in your phone. Don't, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
That kind of stuff. Don't do drugs in my house or in anybody's house.
Treat everybody well.
Right. Be respectful of other cultures.
But I think that's the message that you've started. That didn't start when he turned 13 and magically this light bulb went on.
I know.
He was talking about aging before. I want to make that question very importantly. You're 19 now, but you talk about when did the parental roles start to pull back? I mean, at some point,
it has to start young. I mean,
Right, but when do your parents say, this is the best I can do, which in your case, by the way, is terrific. And one of our emailers asked about religion, by the way. They wanted to know if a religious background has played a role here.
I mean, I was bat mitzvahed. I went to Hebrew school, but I mean, religion was never part of like my growing up as to right and wrong morals. It was
So
just,
you got from your parents.
You know what it really is also? My parents from when I was 6 years old with my brother, and a lot of my friends, the same thing, who I think are most like me. It's the whole giving back and charity and you know, giving
You
to
had
others.
good parents. That is what it boils down to.
So I think at the end of the day, in answer to some of the question of when do they pull back, is the element of, you know, teenagers are teenagers. Fundamentally, we would have had this conversation 50 years ago about how teenagers are bullying and how teenagers aren't always respectful. And maybe their, you know, families have changed so that oftentimes there's less parental guidance in the home. And so we need to make sure that parents make the time, as busy and as overtaxed as they are, to make the time to spend time with their kids. There needs to be all of this stuff, the BlackBerry, the computer, the TV off, and there needs to be time where everybody's just talking to one another. There should not be a phone next to the bed so you can answer it in the middle of the night when your buddies call. I mean, all of those things, parents need to be more involved, and I think we are so disconnected. I have kids that communicate with their parents solely on text message, and they live in the same house.
I love the description.
Can I tell you something? That is so common,
Yes.
which
Yes.
flips me out.
Yes.
That's exactly the
So
first time that my
shut
son
it all
sent me a
off.
text. I went downstairs and I said, if you ever send me a text message again, that's the
dead.
end of your phone.
Right.
I'm going to tell you right now.
But in my house,
Okay, Dad.
and I wonder if in Chelsea's house
I
too,
said,
like,
you get up and you go to the second floor, third floor, you find me and you
Yeah.
tell me, can I
Right.
speak to you for a second?
We
None
had
of this
family
nonsense.
dinner.
From the same house.
Yeah, we had
He
family
was in
dinner.
his room, he texted me, hey, Dad, can I, and I looked at it, I said, is this guy crazy?
This
Is he
culture
really
is
pissing me off?
Yep.
And yes, I put a stop to it immediately. Anyway, we got to go.
Yep.
We got to go. We got to go. I want to make sure that everybody knows that you can listen to Chelsea on teentalklive.net. I want to make sure that everybody goes to that radio station. Everybody logs on. That's between 7 and 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesdays. Log in. This is the hottest show on the internet, on the radio. Forget about Howard Stern. Make sure you go there. The questions, the family, she's going to solve your problems. Catch it now so that you can become a groupie. Later on, she's going to be too big. She's going to be answering no questions.
I'm
from
going to be
anybody.
listening right after this. And
Right.
someone wants this book.
Absolutely.
We're giving away
And,
this book.
Again, The Psychologist, my love. I love you. I need therapy because I'm going down the tubes. These people look at me. I'm all white. I forgot even to paint my hair this week.
You look beautiful, Manny. You look beautiful.
Anyway,